So just a reminder that we are recording and this will be on our public YouTube channel. I'm also going to make the transcript available. So if anyone needs that, and remember, you can kind of move it around the screen if it seems like it's in the way. We are so honored to have Delvin Goode joining us today, and I will be introducing you to him in one moment. First, I just want to acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of the Lenni Lenape people, and we offer this land acknowledgement as a way of showing respect and honoring the indigenous peoples who have lived and who are still present on the land on which we all now work and live. Please visit, I'm going to put a link in the chat. I try to come up with new resources to share. This one is a recent news story about the repatriation, the work to repatriate the Lenape people in Pennsylvania. So thanks for joining us, everyone. As you know, the Clay Studio is dedicated to making art and inspiring people. If you would like to help us by supporting our programming, including these free lunch and learn programs, I will also put a link in the chat, which is a place where you can donate if you are so moved to help keep us going. All right, now to the main event, Delvin. Delvin Goode is an artist working across media, including painting, graphic design, and ceramic art. He has served in the Army for over 18 years. He's currently a major, I think that's very impressive, stationed in Tucson, Arizona. Goode was born in Riverside, California. His father was a U.S. Air Force member, which provided him with a valuable experience of living in many places across North America and Europe as a child. His parents often held art competitions in their home, and every Friday at the local Pizza Hut, the family drew characters of each other until their food arrived. So when you were telling me this, Delvin, I was thinking, like, did you ever play the Pac-Man game at Pizza Hut? Was that like a special treat? But we'll talk about that later. This familial nurturing provided Goode with a comical and unique sense of artistic independence, manifesting itself across multiple mediums throughout his life. Among the many talented artists in his family, Delvin was the first to go to college for art. He earned a Bachelor of Science in Graphic Design from Florida State University in 2000, which is also where he discovered clay. In 2002, he joined the U.S. Army and is still enjoying every minute of it. He started his journey toward his MFA at Fort Hays State University in Kansas, and graduated last summer. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to get started with our main question, which is how and why did you make the brave decision to make your life in art? Which I'll just say is a strange question to ask a person who's made another brave decision, which is to join the military. So maybe we can talk about both of those things.
Well, you know, like I said, my first memory was drawing in a coloring book. I know we spoke about it the other day, and I remember it was a teal crayon, and I was laying on the floor in the living room, just coloring away. And my brother's fantastic artist, sister is, my father is, all great artists. My mother can cook anything you ask her to. It's awesome. So it was just, I was kind of born into it. And like you said, with the art competitions, and I think the biggest thing was the Friday night Pizza Hut drawing sessions that we would sit there and try to draw characters of each other. And another thing we would do is my dad would buy us, because we were big into comic books. So we get our favorite comic book, and my dad would buy us a big poster board and hand us a pen. And he'd tell me and my brother to draw it. No pencils. Draw that comic book, you know, blow it up 3 times bigger, but with a pen, and you can't erase it. You know, and if you mess up, learn how to fix it. You know, and it was all for fun, you know, or we do the grab the encyclopedia and pick an animal. You know, my mom would pick the picture, and then all of us would try to draw it. You know, my dad won every time, you know, until he.
Wait a minute, your dad was competing against you?
Oh yeah, he would compete. He would compete against us until he kind of started catching wind that me and my brother were catching up, and miraculously those competitions ceased, and so he never beat my dad. So you know, my parents were just, it wasn't, they never pushed it, but they always supported me doing art. And so it was just, you know, if I said I needed something, they got it, no issues. Oh, I see there's a question, Constance.
I think maybe she put her hand up before and didn't
Okay.
know how to take it down, but
But,
I'm happy to, maybe I'm wrong about that. No.
oh, no, she's
Okay.
good.
No,
Okay.
she's good. All right.
So doing art with that, and then, you know, all the way through high school, just taking art, just enjoying it, experimenting everything. I think it was my junior year when I started painting. We had a painting assignment,
Uh-huh.
and that was like, I would say, my first true love in art was once I got my hands on some acrylics and just did painting from there, and just absolutely loved it. And I thought that's when I went to college, I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a painter, maybe graphic design, because I got introduced to graphic design, you know, Photoshop and Illustrator in high school. So I was like, maybe I'll do that. But as we discussed the other day, I also was going for chemistry. So it was between chemistry and art that I was going to choose to get my degrees in. And, you know, had some fun with the fraternity that freshman year. Long story short, ended up missing the final exam that semester for chemistry class. And so I was like, okay, maybe I'll focus more on the art. You know, I love chemistry. I love science, but my discipline isn't where it kind of needs to be right now. So I'll focus a little bit more on the art side. And so just did that, focused on graphic design. And then it came time to, you know, I've done all the classes that I was supposed to do for graphic design to get the degree. They were like, hey, you need to take other classes. And this was at Florida State. Now at this point, they were like, you need to take other classes to get your degree. So me being the guy I was at the time, you know, I was like, hey, well, I want to be where the ladies are. So what kind of classes can we do for this fun? And somebody suggested ceramics. You know, go to the ceramics classes. It's right next to the girls' dorm. So the sorority girls all fill up the classes. And I was like, I'm in. You know, that's it. You know, so
Motivation comes in many forms.
yeah. So I was like, yeah, I'll give this ceramics thing a shot, you know, and so it was hard to get into the course with the computer system because again, they you know, true to the story, they were all filled up in the class, and I just took a day and I was just watching TV and kept hitting refresh on the registration website, and it finally let me in like I think 30 minutes. I finally got in, and so got into ceramics. And I always tell people, especially when I do teach classes, like I have yet to this day to meet anybody that was worse than me on the pottery wheel. Like, absolutely horrible. Because the way they taught it there was you had to be able to wedge a proper ball of clay before they even let you go on the wheel. So it took me 2.5 classes, you know, 3-hour classes. So it took me 2.5 classes to get on the wheel finally. And then it was like, you can't even try to throw anything until you can center. So another 2.5 classes to learn how to center, just 3 hours at a time, trying to figure this thing out. And you know, and we always say clay is one of the most humbling art forms out there. And it's the first art form I ever tried, whether it's drawing, graphic design, painting, photography, that I just absolutely sucked at. And there was this girl that would sit across from me, and she had to been about 5 foot, maybe 5'1". And she slapped down about 15 pounds of clay on this pottery wheel and just owned it and made the most beautiful vase I'd ever seen. And I was like, okay, now I got to get better than you. I got to get to the point where I can do that. I was like, this is horrible. And so I spent hours upon hours upon hours in the ceramics lab. Like it was wake up, go to the lab, go to my other classes. Lunch break, I'm in the ceramics lab. Go home to eat, get something to eat. Go back to the ceramics lab. Change, get ready for the club. Go back to the ceramics lab and my club closed. Then go to the club, come back after the club, finish my pieces, and go home and start it all over again.
What did they look like at the other end of the club check? But anyway, another conversation for another
well,
time.
It did actually help me get really good with the messes and the splashes because you had to be real strategic. But So I ended up, so that was the first semester. But towards that first semester, I was approached and asked to teach ceramics for not for an accredited course, but beginner ceramic course at the student union. And I was like, okay, so I'll do that.
So
that
one
sounds
semester, wait a minute, one semester you went from not being allowed to throw
yes.
to being asked to teach the class. So just that's pretty impressive.
And, you know, but I always tell people at that point, it was, you know, if you're struggling at ceramics on the wheel, especially, the only difference between me and anybody that's just starting is just the hours that I put in. I just put in a lot of hours.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was just that dedicated to getting it down to where at least I wasn't the worst guy in the class. Like that was kind of the goal. But so with that, I got really good at the fundamentals. And so they noticed that and it was like, hey, well, you want to teach beginning ceramics? And I was like, okay. And being a young arrogant little kid I was at the time, I was like, well, you know, if you got me here to teach it, I guess I peaked as a ceramicist. I check on this medium and let's go. And but the beauty of that is that's when I fell in love with ceramics, when I got to teach it and helping others, introducing others to the art form and the pottery wheel. And that's when I had my love for it. And I was like, okay. And I really didn't know at the time, like I said, at the time I figured like, hey, I'm teaching, I guess I've got this down. So I kind of went back to painting and graphics and stuff at the time, and you know, graduated. And then from there, moved back home, was doing commission artwork because that's when I was like, okay, I'm out of college now. I got to make some money. So that's when I started selling. Like so, all kinds of just different kind of things. People wanted paintings, mirror etching. I'd help people with photography, like anything I could do on the side while I worked, you know, odd jobs. And then 9/11 hit, and once 9/11 hit, my sister was in the Navy at the time, and she got mobilized to the Middle East. And I was like, okay, can't have big sister getting all the glory. We come from, we come from a big
theme here.
I was like, well, we come from a big, you know, long tradition of military people in my family. And I've always kind of wanted to do it because I grew up in the Air Force. So I always figured I would, but my parents again were like, hey, you know, you're doing great in art, just kind of try art out, you know, and go that path. You've lived in the military life, so you've experienced it, go try something else. And but once 9/11 hit, I told my parents like the next week, hey, I'm going to see the recruiter. And they were like, all right, hey, go do your thing, you know, and that was almost 20 years ago now. So February be 20 years since I made that decision.
Yeah.
And so that was it. And then it was didn't really do any kind of pottery. I bought a pottery wheel with my first tax return in the Army. And so just kind of used it as like a party trick every now and again, just kind of dabbled with it. Sometimes I teach classes because as I moved around, I'd go check out the local military installation for their art center. Sometimes they have pottery wheels, so I popped in like, hey, I can just kind of teach a class or two. But that was really it. Until it was time I advanced enough in the Army to where there's like, hey, you need to get a master's degree if you want to continue on.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, okay, well, if I get a master's, I just didn't want to just get a regular master's because there's a tremendous amount of programs to get a lot of master's degrees, but I wanted it in art. So, but I was like, I need to get a art degree, a master's in fine arts, but not be present at the university, which, and I want to do it in ceramics. Yeah,
That's not easy.
And I was like, but I haven't heard of anybody able to do that. But you know, I'm gonna try it. And then I was in Kentucky at the time, and so I started calling Kansas universities, and I called Kansas State first, and whoever the professor was that answered the phone, I told him what I wanted to do. He had a quick chuckle. And we laughed together, like, hey, this is my plan. But he said, hey, call Lynn McAnstrom at Fort Hays State University. I think she has a program that she's getting up and running that might work for you. And yeah, so I made that phone call. Linda actually answered the phone, which is amazing. You know, everything works out because, like she told me, she's regularly never at that phone. So she just was at the moment I called, and it was just from the moment she started speaking, I knew like, okay, this is it. Like, I can't believe I found it, and you know, and here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. And you finished, and now everybody's doing pottery online. So you're like a trailblazer.
Yeah.
um, so now we haven't talked about this yet. Now that you have your MFA, are you thinking about going back to that teaching, which is something you said was so inspiring to you and helped you kind of fall in love with the medium? Is that a future plan?
So when you first started the ceramics program at Fort Hayes, they kind of asked you like, hey, what's your end state with this degree? And I teaching was my inspiration. So that was kind of the focus on me going through all the curriculum, was to be an instructor at the end.
Mm.
So, kind of as I'm looking at, I'm kind of towards the end of my military career. And that was kind of the push for me to get that master's in ceramics so I could go back and teach ceramics. I used to say I do a lot of art forms, um, and I love a lot of art forms. I love painting, but nothing is more fun than teaching ceramics, especially on the wheel. That to me is still that brings me the most joy. So that is the goal when I hang the uniform up. That would be my ultimate goal, is still teaching somewhere, helping others fall in love with the craft. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you talk about wanting to bring joy to people through your artwork that you make. And I feel like that's the same thing that you're saying you want to do through teaching. It just, it'll make people happy, makes you happy. What more can we do for the world is just put some more positivity into it. So I love that. I want to show people the images that you shared with me. So I'm gonna open that up and share my screen, and you can talk to us a little bit about your kind of journey through clay. There we go. There's always so many things on my screen. There we go. All right, so you sent me a bunch of really great images, and when we talked the other day, you were saying that this is the sort of the first kind of work you were doing because of your love of color. So we haven't touched on that. You were saying,
Right.
I love the fact that you remember that your crayon was teal. I mean, that's just like the best detail to me, and really speaks to the fact that you look at your artwork and it's like it's huge, just pops of color. And to talk a little bit about that with this work, early stuff.
Yeah, so I've always been drawn to color. When I did a lot of color theory stuff, especially in college when I had roommates, and they don't know this at the time. I had several roommates. I would go we always hung out in the living room, and like once a month I'd switch out the artwork per color themes, and I would document kind of the moods and how everybody would change. And so I got, really nerded out on color theory.
So you're doing
And,
sociological experiments on your roommates? Is that what
yeah,
you're saying?
I was. It used to be a lot of fun. They didn't know I was doing it. They just like, okay, yeah, he has more assignments or whatever. But they didn't. But it was fascinating how it would change the mood of things. And when I did blues and all blue artwork or purples, and everybody would just be so calm and chill. But when I switched it out to reds and oranges, like it was always excitement and laughing and playing. Like it was very interesting. It was like, oh, this stuff actually works. And being a painter, still like when I paint, I like to paint with bold, bright colors. So it's like, how can I bring that into my ceramics? Again, I'm moving around every year or so, and I knew that. I was like, I'm still gonna have to move every 1 to 2 years. I don't know what the studio situation is gonna be. I don't have a lot of money or access to materials. So I was like, how can I still bring color into my work? So the first semester work, I was doing a lot of agate ware bowls. So these were low fire, red and white earthenware. So this was me getting that color fix, but also playing around with how can I get predictable in those swirls with agate ware. So I did a lot of things with that. And I did get to the point where I could pretty much guarantee you what it was going to look like by the time it was finished and fired from the ball of clay before I even slapped it on the wheel. So I did a lot of work with that.
That's really so interesting, and it kind of ties also back a little bit to your interest in chemistry, both with the clay body and with the glaze. Really getting to know the material so well that you can see what it looks like in its raw state and understand what it's going to look like after it's fired. And obviously, when you're going from a ball of clay to a bowl, another totally, kind of to many people a mystery and like magic. But when you know what you're working with, you start to understand it.
So these were tumblers or cups as well. Again, with the agate ware, still like, hey, this is how I can get that color pop in there. And again, like now I'm understanding like, hey, if I put these little dabs of gray here, 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 it'll be this much of a swirl. Pretty predictable again, but then also trying to think out the box on the handles as well. Like I want a different kind of handle. And this series ended up, and I'm still working on these, they ended up being used in rehab clinics for people who are rehabbing like hand injuries or arm and shoulder injuries. So still working on that, but that's just a quick thing on this one, on this style. So you'll see more of this from me, definitely.
Yeah. That's so important. I mean, and that ties into another thing you and I talked about the other day, which is mental, but also you're saying physical rehabilitation for veterans, and working with art and all these, how it can serve many purposes.
So this is me still trying to find my voice in clay. So it's like, well, I'm making these things, but how can I truly bring myself to it? So I started bringing in my graphic design side and my woodworking side, and trying to bring those things together. On the bottom of that cup, you can see that little bit of dark purple before the wood. That's resin, which, quick funny story, I'm definitely allergic to that material.
Oh, no.
Didn't know it until I was a week into working with it on this series, and my face like tripled in size, like Will Smith in that movie Hitch. Face got really big, so that was me. So don't really use that much anymore. But this was me really trying to experiment with different materials, everything that I do normally for all those commission sales and different styles of artwork that people were asking me to do. How can I bring that to my ceramics? So this is me really playing around, starting to play around with graphics. I was using stroke and code at the time to get the graphics on the ceramic pieces, because again, just limited knowledge on what to use. And I heard of underglaze at this time, but I just was like, nah, I'm not messing with underglaze. I'm gonna mess with the stroke and code and just kind of play around with it.
And this is the first time you use stencils, or?
Yeah, this is when I'm first starting to use custom stencils that I make in my studio home, and playing around with techniques.
And so you'll tell us more about how you produce the stencils, maybe.
Yeah. If you want to know that, yeah. So this is me just, how can I playing around a little bit more with the agate, where I'm just going to mix more colors. I'm getting more comfortable with the stenciling. I do leather work as well, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna pull out some leather and sew. Still a different kind of handle, kind of like you tuck your hand in there. So if you have coffee in there, keep your hand from getting stolen, and it looks cool. It's a military patch, so people will know what unit you're in. So just having fun with it. Like, so I'm a pilot in the Army, so I was like, well, I'm gonna make little runway coasters, so you can fly your mug down and land.
I was gonna say, are those runways? I didn't really get that before.
Yeah. So just having fun with it, and just again trying to like really put myself into my style of work. So.
Yeah, you're incorporating all your visual world, like in the real world, down into this micro example to share it. Well, here's another good example of that.
Yeah, so this is I was big into Zen gardens. I still am. I just think they're really, really relaxing and really cool and fun. And so this was kind of combining like the woodwork, and I was like, I want the coaster to be its own Zen garden. I'm gonna make everything, and I even made those rocks in there. I was like, I'm gonna make ceramic rocks and just do stuff like that and play around again with the graphics. Like I wanted to be a panda kind of thing, and still playing around with that handle. Actually, this series came before the other series, and I ended up dropping the handle down to the center to be more comfortable. But again, like using more high quality woods. But as we all are, we're kind of tied to the materials that are close to us, so that we have access to. So at this time, I had access to a wood mill that had excellent high quality hardwoods. And this is the stuff I was getting out of their scrap pile, because they were making furniture. So I come in and get the scraps, and which was great because they were basically giving it to me until I showed them a picture of what I was doing, and they started charging me. But
That was a mistake.
But that was really, this was a fun series, and I definitely want to tap back into this. And we'll talk about that later, hopefully.
Yeah. Was this part of like an assignment from school? Was this during your master's work, or was this just you kind of playing around?
Everything I sent you, ceramic wise, were assignments.
Were assignments, yeah. Also, your own color theory experiment is going to tell you that this red is not very relaxing.
But that was one of the most requested Zen gardens. It was pretty funny.
Maybe people wanted to be excited and using their Zen garden instead of relaxed.
So again, just I'm still playing around with the resin, even though I know I'm allergic to it at this time. But I run into the studio with my face covered in a full body suit. I pour it and then run back out, and stuff like that. But real life horseshoes, again, where I was at the time, I just had access to this stuff, and still trying to think out the box handles, bringing the woodworking and everything together. Still trying to find my voice. And again, you see with the agate ware stars and the mugs themselves, like, okay, let's still get this color in there. I gotta get some color in there somehow.
Yeah. Although I'm gonna say maybe you should stop with the resin. Just
I don't know.
So Linda's on the call. She just said in the chat that she's very proud of you.
Hey, Linda.
We're glad she's with us. Okay, how about this one? Here's the color again.
So these are me, more important so with the boxes. So this is me kind of now going to, okay, if I give somebody this just the mug, the mug is awesome, but I want to present it to you as well. And I want the full experience of you receiving it to be just as equal to the mug itself. I want the packaging.
I don't know what I agreed to yesterday, that I had a
Hold on.
luncheon with my favorite artist.
Somebody.
Like a Zoom meeting thing where he's just describing his path to getting to where he is.
Figure out how to do this. Wait. I can do it.
So
okay.
And a lot of this ties back to, so as I've been in the Army for 19 years and being one of the artists in every unit I'm in, I've had the privilege of making people's gifts as they leave the unit. And so doing that for, like I said, 19 years now, and watching people's reaction when you make them something, specifically for them, and that emotional connection they get with everything. I was like, how can I bring that to people that get my mugs and my ceramics? And so I've started exploring more. So like, I want to give you more than just the mug. I want to give you multiple repeatable experiences. And so the boxes came in like, hey, if you use the mug, you get it out, you get it in the mail, you get it however you get it, you unwrap it, you see this whole thing. And now you got to get the mug out and use the mug. Now put the mug back in the box that it came in. Now every single time you go use that mug, it's that same kind of experience again, like a reward for you. Like, hey, you deserve this. This is yours. This was made for you. And this was me starting to really try to figure that out with the tools and materials I had at the time.
It's a bit ceremonial to have to take it in and out, and it's kind of like a very intentional. It forces you to be intentional and forces you to kind of like appreciate what you're doing, which is a nice gift to be giving someone, also to give them the chance to kind of slow down and appreciate what they have and what they're doing and think about you. So that's great. To add that extra layer in makes a big difference.
So again, thinking out the box, I'm a helicopter pilot. So these are my Hilo cups. And I was like, oh, well, how can I make something that's, it was actually a toy that you can buy, and it spins around as the propellers go faster, it just whirls around. And that was kind of inspiration for this one. Still playing around with the agate ware, a little bit playing around with the colors, but more so, how can I still bring that mixed media aspect to it? Just the craziest coaster I could come up with to balance this thing, and just to see if I could pull it off. And this is the first time I started actually building things out of wood to make the ceramics work. So like building stilts, so it kept the piece together as it dried, and So it was like, hey, let me use other skills to benefit the ceramics. And that was the important thing about this series.
Yeah, so basically like you pick this thing up and you can only put it down on the coaster or it would fall, right?
Yeah. So this is my sketchbook. So so I just wanted to show you this one. So this is how, like, I know we talked yesterday about when I make any of the pieces that I make on the wheel, I'm making canvases. And then, so with that, I like to take the time to actually try to draw it and visually see it as much as I can prior to even hitting the studio. Now that is a function of two things. Like, one, I hate taking traditional notes. So I was like, I just can't do it. Like, I just can't stand it. So I was like, well, if I draw it and actually have a little bit more fun with it, get some actual, better markers, more variety, and just take the time to draw it. And also, a lot of times in my profession, like, when I get to the studio, it's like I don't have a lot of time. So I have to really be intentful when I get into my studio space. So I started carrying around this sketchbook because I was traveling a lot at the time, on the plane almost every day. So I'd be on the plane drawing this out, visualizing, being on the wheel, visualizing the different steps, trying to draw it out, take my notes in my hand. So there's a lot of drawings in my sketchbooks that never went to the studio because I figured out, this ain't gonna work on the plane or waiting on the plane. So I figured it out in my sketchbook, like, okay, this is wrong. I don't even have to go to the clay to figure this out. And when I do actually make things, so as you start seeing the additional pages, like this one it's because I did actually make it. It didn't work now, but I still want to keep going. So I come back, draw my notes, write notes. Okay, this is what I did wrong. This is what happened right, and then just keep going. So yeah, this series at the end was like not that good, but if I go back and make it again, I have all these notes and I know what went wrong and I know exactly what I'm going to do different because this was several years ago, and I have a lot more skills now and I have more equipment at my disposal that'll actually make this series successful if I go back.
I mean, in addition to the fact that these are just beautiful drawings and I love looking at the images and the fact that you've, put shadows in and you're shading your process drawings, it's great. That idea that you just said that you didn't have the skill or the material yet to make them, but you will in the future. It's so important to keep a record of those ideas that just like can't exist yet, but they will exist in the future.
I'm working on a series right now for a companion gallery, and it's based off of one of the series in my sketchbook from when I first started the master's program. So I'm bringing that back because now I have more equipment, more skills, more knowledge, and now I'm going to bring that series back. So.
Yeah, that's exciting. And it's a challenge, which we have heard already that you like. You seem to be motivated by challenge. Oh, yeah.
So I sent these to you to show. So this is when I think for Goode art, as I'm branded on social media and stuff, as this is when Goode art I think started to come about. So again, I do paintings and all kinds of other things, and so I painted these in 2019, and it's just like I said, just different stuff for the family. Commissions and things of that nature. So I was able to figure out how to use stencils and all that to make the water bottles look like this. And so I was sitting there and I was like, if I can duplicate what I can do on a water bottle using spray paints and stencils, can I figure out how to do that on my ceramics? And if I can figure that out, then I think I'll finally be where I want to be ceramically as an artist. But I also had to wait until my actual, the canvases that I make on the wheel had to be to a certain level before I'd even attempt it. So this was a very important moment in my artistic career. Right? And so there you have it. So then it was like, okay, so now I'm using underglazes for the first time because now I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about this underglaze thing. What's the importance of them and how do they work? And so with underglazes, I was able to achieve. Now I can duplicate what I can do on a painting on ceramics. And this photo just makes my heart happy. So I'm like, this is the moment where I figured it out, and it's just been rolling ever since then.
Well, it's great. Can you talk a little bit about how you produce the stencils?
Oh yeah, so
That seems
so
complicated.
again, bringing in my graphic design background, I use Adobe Illustrator to build all my stencils. But again, it starts with the end state. Like, okay, I want it to say, got milk, expired. I want the 7-Eleven logo. I want all that on there, and I want it to be blue. And so from there, then I backtrack. Okay, what stencils and what sequence did it need to go on to make it look like this in the end? And I don't always get it right, off the first shot, but it's, again, drawing it out first. Or I didn't draw all of these out first, but at least, going through the process and just kind of drawing it out and just thinking about it visually as much as I can before I hit the studio. And then before I hit the computer and design these stencils out. And so anybody wanting to try this, if you go get some vinyl, so I use vinyl to do it. And so I make the vinyl stencils, and I use interior grade vinyl for it because it's just tacky enough and it's on bisqueware. I do all this on bisqueware. So it's just tacky enough to get on the bisqueware, and it'll pull it off, and it doesn't damage. A lot of times you can get it to where it doesn't damage your underglazes and stuff like that if you get a good enough coat on. And I also use, and to achieve these effects, I use an airbrush.
I mean, and the vinyl is, you're not using like a laser cutter. Are you cutting them out yourself after you've?
Yep, I'm cutting the vinyl myself here at the house. We have a vinyl cutter. But if you have a Cricut or a Silhouette, you can do anything that you see here.
Got it. Okay. And then you're using underglaze and an airbrush. So yeah. And what's this? Is this your birthday? December 20th?
No, it's not. I can't even remember why I put that date on. I think I was just being funny that it was, it was made in 77. And
really, really expired. Okay, got it.
I don't want to drink that blue milk.
Yeah, well, and the complication of figuring out how to do all those steps is one thing. Just having your design sensibility, though, is really the probably the most important part of it. Just knowing how to put it on this. You're taking these two-dimensional images and you're figuring out how to put them on a three-dimensional object in a way that really makes sense and makes the whole thing hang together. I think these are really good examples of that because of the angles of the mugs and how you're putting the both the flat images and then you have your badges on there. So yeah, talk to us about these. Are really important.
So these again, so you see now if you think about the first boxes I made, a little rough around the edges, but I was making those a different way. But now I have a laser engraver in my studio now. So now I can have the laser engraver cut out these boxes. But again, using my graphic design skills to design the boxes in Adobe Illustrator, so the laser engraver can read it and cut it this way. And so now, okay, now I got that box, I got the hinges on there. Now you're opening it up, you're opening up your gift, you're receiving it that way. And now you can put this back in it, or you can use your box for other things. And then now hey, that's where I always keep, my tea. That's where I keep my coffee, my K-cups, or that's where I always keep my special notes. So now the box now becomes an additional art piece to attach memories to on top of the mug. And then these were, I really challenged myself on these to put that Tuskegee Airman Spitfire patch on there as well. Because I was like, if I can get that patch done, that will teach me, I will learn the skills to pretty much do anything else I want on any mug going forward if I can pull that patch off. And that's the one on the right. And then and then using laser engraver as well, I can make my own stamps now. So
Oh, that's what that is. Oh.
A Tuskegee Airman stamp. And how can I design the stamps properly and use them properly to now benefit my ceramics? So now it's like, now I can use all these materials to benefit the ceramics with the goal of not overshadowing the ceramics at the end of the day. So this is the culmination of, graphic design, woodworking, painting, airbrushing. Like this is like this series is like a culminating event of everything I've done my entire life artistically. And, it speaks to the military, what my actual job is.
Yeah, I mean, I hope everyone on the call knows about the Tuskegee Airmen, but do you want to say why that's important?
Well, I wouldn't be a pilot in the Army if it wasn't for what the Tuskegee Airmen did and the trials and tribulations they had to go through and the success that they had, you know, paved the way for myself to come in and say, hey, Army, I want to fly. And I'm like, okay, we'll see you in flight school, see what you got. You know, so that was pretty awesome. So definitely appreciate everything they did, paved the way for me and others.
That's great. Well, this is really super impressive. Getting a little choked up. So we're going to go to the next thing.
So again, you know, just having fun with the graphic design, reading people's, you know, and this was just, you know, I won't get into this series too deeply, but it's basically a statement of resilience. You know, no matter what we go through, no matter the hardships, you know, we are still together. We're the people. We can still come together. We can still support each other, no matter the hard times. And so that's what this series is about. Bringing back the agate wear on some of the ones, and again, very strategic. Like I know I want it to look just like this. This is the way I got to do it because I have my notes from before.
Mm-hmm.
And again, just playing around like, hey, I want to have a flag sticking out of the side of this thing. Like, how can I pull that off? And then using the laser engraver to actually engrave on the flags. Like I want Weedon Peoples on the flags as well. Redesigning the box to fit these and just kind of still just bringing that whole concept all together.
Yeah, you got the agate wear to really do, I mean, to represent the stripes. And there's another aspect of that agate wear is that it's historic. I mean, it's a tradition that's been used in ceramics for a long time. And often when people look at it, they kind of think of it as something that was used in the 18th and 19th century. So do you want to talk a little bit about that in terms of nostalgia? And then we can kind of connect that, I think, to some of the other graphics that you choose.
Right. And so and so with these, it was kind of like a homage to the, you know, earlier times. Also a shout out, you know, to North Carolina. That's where most of my family is from. You know, we being in the military brat, you know, we kind of moved around, but all my family, extended family, is sitting in North Carolina. So very, very intrigued with agate wear in that respect. And then it was also a way for me to show, you know, like, you know, just a different color. Just, you know, we're all different hues. We're all, you know, everybody comes different shapes and sizes. We're all them people. So I just kind of wanted, the only one, I have red ones that aren't in, you know, in this photo as well, and a couple other styles. But yeah, just kind of tying it to that. I'm kind of drawn to some vintage things, especially graphically. I just think it's just a lot of fun, and the way they went about it back in the day. It didn't have the computers, it didn't have any of that stuff that we have, the technology we have today. But yeah, there's still some of the most amazing graphics and work, you know, and me, like, you know, the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, like graphically, I think they're just visually stunning documents. And it's the penmanship and everything. It's just amazing. So I've always been kind of drawn to that. So that's why I kind of picked that style for the series.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense with the idea of, you know, the skill that you bring to so many different aspects of it and appreciating that. I have a question in that. Do you revisit these series? Like you've made this group of things. Can somebody call you and say, I don't know, I think I want another group of these? Or are you like, no, I did this. It's something
there's a whole bunch of them. Like,
right oh, they're still there.
yeah, I'm just, you know, a lot going on. I haven't been able to list them yet, but they will be. They will be. By the end of 22, I'll have them available. But people do reach out to me. I've sent out several. People just message me direct and say, hey, can I have a Weedon Peoples, you know? And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. We'll talk it over. Get it
so
up.
With this group and then with some of your others, like you're willing to go back and revisit them. Like you said, you have your sketchbooks, you probably have the files for the stencils, so you can recreate some of the things that you've done over the years.
Well, as we go forward, you'll kind of see like, I don't revisit as much, but again, this was showing like what I'm still doing at the time that all of these other things are being created. So I'm still doing, this was a bag toss or cornhole set, depending on where you're at in the country. Again, just bringing those. So if I could, so now that I did this, you're still using stencils. I can put this on mugs if I want. I can put any of these designs on mugs now, because even though these stencils are like 4 foot tall to make this, I can scale them down and put it on a series if somebody wanted a series of mugs like this. But this is still, I'm still on top of doing the ceramics and growing ceramically. I'm still painting, still doing commission artwork like this, still selling it.
Yeah. And like you said, people are just asking you all the time. They know you're the one. Oh, who's gonna make that thing? Delvin's gonna do it for us.
Yeah, yeah. So then these started. So threadless.com, I discovered them a few years ago, and I used to always buy funny t-shirts from them. And I loved it because it was all artists, all graphic designers or different kind of artists, like, you know, filling the site up with t-shirts and designs. And so I'd go like every couple of months and buy a couple of shirts from them. And it was always cool to wear them around. People like, hey, where'd you get the shirt? That's funny, or that's really cool. And so one day I was just logging on. We were in the middle of a move. So the house is empty. All I got is my computer and a TV going. And I was like, well, let me get on Threadless again. Find me, you know, buy another funny shirt or something. And they had the option for you to open up your own art shop on there. Make your own t-shirts. You know, you design it, and all you do is design it, and they handle the rest. You know, and you set the prices and all that stuff. And so I tried it out, and like I said, being a graphic designer, like I just looked at, okay, what do the specs need to be for the t-shirts? And so I understood instantly what you had to do to get the design ready for them to print it. And here we have it. You know, and it's funny. I mean, it's not and I didn't do it to make money, because I actually have them control my prices. I keep the prices as low as possible on the site, because it's just, I saw a void in cool ceramic related t-shirts out there that are available. So I was like, well, I can design as many as I want and put them on my site. And just whenever I want one, I'll design it. And it's really cool because it's usually, it'll take me like, I'll be watching a commercial, or I'll be talking to a friend, or just whatever. You know, I'll be in the store and I'll just get an inspiration. And it's usually within like 30 minutes, I have the design ready, and I just pop it on Threadless. And it's just been so, and I don't advertise it a lot. I'll try to get better at that, but you know, there's so many people I'll see out there on social media and things like that. They'll do posts and they're wearing my shirts, and that's so amazing. That is so awesome. It's like, man, like, wow, like other people, you know, because this has been up for a while, and it just kind of has been a slow. But like I said, people don't know what they don't know, so I'm not telling people, you know, hey, go, you know, look at my shirts, you know, and you know, check it out. You know, they don't know, and so it's been. But there's been, you know, people have been, you know, slowly throughout the years, you know, starting to scoop them up more and more. And like I said, it just, huge thank you to everybody that's bought these shirts. And you know, when they post pictures and I see them, and it's like, all right, so other people, you know, get my sense of humor. They think it's funny. They, you know, because like I said, I do a lot of spin on classic graphic designs, and
Yeah,
you know, just kind of change them up so I don't get sued, you know.
I did think about that. I have to tell everybody though that this is the image that Delvin sent, and I was looking at the Threadless website, and I wanted to put more in because they're so cool. There's tons more, but
Yeah,
so he's not even doing a good job promoting himself in this. I'm helping. So
I mean, I did recently. We got a you know, fundraiser going on right now. You know, to send you know, underrepresented people to Sika this year through my website. I've done several fundraisers with this site, which has been wonderful. I just, you know, so that's usually when I'll advertise it, when somebody's like, hey, we need to raise funds for this, and I'll go and design a shirt. Be like, all right, you can have all the profits from it. You know, it's not much because, you know, Threadless is doing most of the work. So, but whatever little bit I get, you know, I definitely like to gift it away. So we've raised through this site, so, you know, over $200 so far for that event. It's been up since the 7th with those t-shirt designs and stuff like that.
all right, everyone, go buy a t-shirt. The money's going to.
It's been pretty cool.
Yeah, to the scholarships for NCECA. That's great. So we just we have to go a tiny bit faster.
Okay.
You have so much great stuff to say.
All right, oil painting. So again, this is just, I'm still doing it all. So I'm still doing oil paintings right now.
This is a Tuskegee Airmen again for everyone, if anyone.
Yeah, this is a 4 foot by 6 foot painting, oil on wood panel.
On wood
Love painting. I usually paint on wood panel if I paint.
And this is inspired by one of the historic photographs.
It is.
Yeah. Where is this giant painting? In your house?
Do you know that is a great question where this thing is at? This is storage somewhere in Alabama.
Okay. That's all right. We have an image of it. That's what we need. Okay. Even more complicated boxes.
So even more complicated boxes. This is I call the Goode art coming out party. So now I'm like I'm hitting you with everything I can to make you feel like you just got the most awesome thing ever, because you deserve it. Especially handmade ceramics isn't the cheapest thing. So it's like, hey, I really want people to feel like, wow, that's all I paid for it. And, look at this thing. And I just like, and it's not really like I told you back in the day when art was just a competition to me. Like, I got to be better than everybody else to be a good artist. Now it's more or less competition with myself, and how I have all these capabilities. How much can I give the collector or the consumer? How much can I impact in one package for that person that's willing to bring my art into their home.
I love how open you are too about this like really, the way you thought about life as a college kid, and how you've gone from being so focused on it being a competition and yourself being the winner to really wanting everybody else to be the winner. I think that's
amazing. And that's the thing. Same thing with these mugs that you guys currently have available. It's like, I want, how can you continue to have fun with the mug? How can the mug continue to be more than just a vessel to consume from? But now you can continuously interact with it, draw on it, erase it. That cool message, just be dope. I say that all the time. That's the key. That's the key to being a great artist. You got to believe that you're dope first, and then you can go from there. And anything's possible after that. And I just wanted to continue to be fun, and you can just change it every day if you want to.
Yeah.
So that was,
whatever you need that day to get your day started. Or leave a message for somebody else in your house, maybe.
Yeah. And so, and then this is me still pushing myself, like, okay, I want to do a spin on Skittles, call it Sipples, using stencils to bring this design about, and then changing up the packaging from the boxes now. So now I don't do the boxes as much anymore. Those are real exclusive now if I do the boxes. And a lot of that is just time. Again, it's like, I don't have a lot of time in the studio. So, but how can I still be just as impactful with that when you receive it? And so I was like, I remember as a kid, I used to always love when I get that toy off the shelf and unwrap it and have the plastic and all the little accessories. And so that's where I'm at right now. And I absolutely love packaging up my mugs this way. Just making it look like it was a store-bought product. But again, it's fun. You get it, you have to open it up. And then I also shrink wrap the mug itself. So you still gotta unwrap the mug when you get to the mug. And it's just, and then you finally get to this product or the piece itself. And just whatever hopefully your reaction is when I'm thinking, like that wow factor, and hey, how did he pull this off? Because these are still all wheel thrown. These pieces of wheel thrown porcelain. It's just still having a lot of fun.
Yeah, with super precise, images. I'm sure there's times when people always say the kiln will break your heart, but there's all things along the way that can end up making it, not be the product you want. So I'm sure you get some, I don't know, maybe you never mess up, but I just imagine bleeding and of the images.
All the time, but you open a kiln, sometimes you're disappointed, but I'm like, I celebrate those times. I really celebrate those moments where it doesn't work out right. Because then you've learned. You've learned in that process. Even though it failed, you have learned a lot, and it's like, okay, now go back, update your sketchbook. So now you know not to do that. But because you did that, and especially if you try something new, even in the process of failing, you learn something new. So cherish that. But it might hurt your soul that it didn't come out the way it should, but that piece still helped you grow as an artist.
And as a human, really, like failure is, you're right, you have to embrace it, because everybody messes up, and we have to just, like you're saying, take it as a learning experience and appreciate it.
Yeah, I think I busted up 6 pieces this morning. I'm learning slip cast. I'm not the best slip caster, and they didn't work. So I was like, okay, well, man, that sucks. I really wanted those. That's like 6 pieces I got to throw away. But okay, why did they mess up? Okay, I did this, I did that. Okay, change that next time. All right, cool. Appreciate teaching me that valuable lesson. But let's move on. Let's get some more slip. Let's try it again.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. You really don't. You learn so much more from failure. It's so true. I want to talk about the fact that you have all those great mugs on your shelf and from other people. I wanted to mention that on your Instagram, you often highlight other artists. You know, that's so great. You get a mug by somebody else, and you really pass on that praise. And that's my colleague Naima was like, make sure you talk about.
Well, I think the importance of that is, you know, I think I'm a pretty good artist, but I'm not the best artist out there. And I'm not the artist for everybody. But if I can help you discover somebody that is for you, I mean, why not? Like, I mean, there's some amazing art out there, you know, and it took me a long time to get to this point where I start buying other people's artwork. But I've also learned so much since I started doing this. Hey, Linda. Hey, Olivia. I've learned so much since I started doing it. You know, and it's great. And the connections I've made doing that. And it's totally not the reason why I've done it. But just the connections I've made and grown my family and showing that respect to other artists and highlighting them. And like I said, a lot of people have reached out to me. It's like, hey, I didn't know this artist was out there. Like, this stuff is amazing. You know, and they'll go buy stuff from them. They've never bought one of my pieces. And I'm perfectly happy with that, because you are supporting another person who is putting their heart and soul into their craft. And I help facilitate getting somebody that loves their work and appreciate it. So now we're getting artist appreciation, and we're getting work into the right home, which at the end of the day is what it's all about, you know. So yeah, that's why I set this up here specifically, because I want people to see, yeah, there's other people's work that you know, we come and choose from and highlight all the time.
Yeah, you know? Well, it's great, and it's it also means that you're living and you're making art like the way you want to see the rest of the world, right? Again, it comes back to you being so positive and putting positivity out there and appreciating other people. It's definitely what we need. And I appreciate you for doing it.
Yeah, it's out there. I know right now we're kind of a society that likes to harp on the bad, but there is so much good out there. There's so much good out there. Like, just gotta embrace it. It is right there. You know, it's out. Like I said, when I stop smiling, it hurts. So, so I don't know any other way to be. And when I don't smile, I can't walk in work and not smile, because then I got to go talk to the boss about why I'm not smiling. Because I'm a guy that has to smile when he comes into work, you know, regardless of what's going on. And I love it.
Well, that's good. People depend on that smile. So, and we depend on your artwork to make us smile, even from far away. I'm so grateful that I got to spend this hour with you and share you with the community that we have that gathers around us. I can't wait to have you come visit Philadelphia sometime.
Oh yeah, we gotta make our way out there.
I think maybe there's some messages, including the crazy connection that Delvin and a friend of mine from high school served together in the military, like totally crazy.
Yeah. What's up, Chuck?
What's up, Chuck? And yeah, lots of other people. Oh, we had some people say that you should write a book or illustrate a book, because when they saw your pictures. So okay, we'll be waiting for that. Yeah, everybody's making great comics. Zioma says, thank you for sharing your work and growth with us. You're truly changing the game. I agree.
Well, I appreciate she says that, but she's definitely changing the game right now. So everybody go pay attention to her. She is awesome.
All right. Well, that's good. Zioma, put your Instagram in the chat so we can all come see your work. Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Delvin. Have a great day. Thank you for sharing with us. We will talk to you soon, I hope. Thanks, everybody.
Yes. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for spending time with us this afternoon.
Love it. Okay. Bye. Bye, everybody.